But my word, and welcome to the Sheds. We are back again, shedding the lights on everything that matters. Today we bring to the spotlight coding killers.
Yes, coding killers.
Yes.
Such sounds like it's a fancy way.
Exactly, killers. And it has got to do with formulas, and is it stealing jobs from us? Is it going to get us unemployed one day? Are our kids going to ever be employed with coding? If you ignore coding killers, you run a risk of being useless one day. Exactly. 5 years from now, even worse, your kid killers. So coding is the thing killers. Robots are working now, replacing human beings. Yeah. Why does coding matter? Why must we care about coding? Is coding the future that we want? And what about joblessness? To help us do that, we're talking to Kelebogile Motlhamme from We Think Code.
Welcome to this show.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
So you're the person responsible for joblessness in the state.
No, it will help.
So you're producing smart kids. Cool. Kelebogile is from an institute called We Think Code. They are a tech training institute. They have an innovative approach to coding education in South Africa. They are a tuition-free training academy. You don't pay them, killers. So the essence of free education isn't into this issue. And then they are recruiting the sharpest minds, they say, killers, to become work-ready software developers. That's usually killers. But before that, killers, today is the 30th of May. I'm mentioning that because Bongani beginning, I don't know what to call Bongani, because it does camera, it does lighting, it does post-production, editing, it does everything. It's his birthday today, killers. Yeah, so shout out to Bongs. Happy birthday, Bongs. Cool and killers, we still need you at the Sheds to do a lot of things. He's a one-in-one fellow. Whenever this episode airs, killers, it was shot on the 30th of May on Bongani's birthday. He's not even here celebrating his birthday. I don't know what he's getting up to. My sister, what is coding?
Okay, so in simple terms, coding is just basically, taking formulas, taking patterns, and basically just telling a program or a computer and instructing it to run those programs, essentially. Wow. So it's like to assist you in terms of automating processes and, telling an app to do a certain thing. So if you click on the certain button, it'll tell the program on how to basically run the program. Yeah.
Oh, sounds very interesting. You know what our person says? She said, your tuition, your institution is tuition free. Can you elaborate on that? Can people pay? How does it run?
So the reason why it's tuition free is that we try to basically, the model in terms of how we think of it is that we recruit students from underserved communities. So we literally source people that we know don't necessarily have access to higher education opportunities. So as we know, people are familiar with the traditional way of learning in terms of going to university. But the reason why we're saying We Think Code is one of a kind is because we don't expect our students to pay. So it's funded by corporate sponsors. So companies who actually pay for these students' tuition, these are the companies that need the tech skills and talent. So they basically pay for their tuition, and then our students go through a program which is 16 months. Okay. And at the end of the program, they actually begin to work for these companies. So not only are these companies investing in the talent, they actually hire them afterwards. So that's basically why it's tuition free.
I've never heard of We Think Code as an institution. Tell us about that. Where does it come from? When are it established? And is it a registered institution, or is it just an organization?
Yeah, we definitely registered with MICT CETA. So students do get a qualification at the end of the program. So how it came about was in 2015 when we realized that there's quite a high unemployment rate in South Africa, more especially amongst the youth. So 60% of the youth in South Africa are currently unemployed. So to get into our program, you need to be between the ages of 17 and 35. So we actually are targeting the youth of South Africa. And so basically there's an online assessment that our students complete. And then if they meet the requirements, it's basically like a problem solving assessment. So to get into coding, the basic skill that you need is to be able to think critically and be able to solve problems. So that's basically what we are assessing for. And then once you're successful there, you come for a 6-day boot camp. And then at the end of a 6-day boot camp, so the boot camp is basically just to see if you can learn coding concepts quite quickly. So if you're successful there, and then you'll get to register into our program, which is 16 months. And then at the end of the 16 month, we'll place you with a corporate sponsor or corporate partner for a 4-month internship.
Yeah, that sounds so great. I just wanted to find out, in terms of grades, for young people that are studying at school, what subject should you should have studied at school in order to get into coding? What must you do?
That's the interesting part. You actually don't look at any prior qualifications and your prior skills. The reason being that we also hire students, we're taking students who actually don't even have a matric. So that's the reason why we're saying that we target people that we know. Because as we know, with the way the education system in South Africa is, a lot of students don't get to actually get to the trick for a lot of various reasons. The main reason being they just don't have the finances to actually be completely schooling. So what we are assessing for and looking for is people that we know have those problem-solving abilities. So we have students from other institutions who've already done other qualifications in other subjects who actually come to Within Code. So we do take in people that actually don't even have on the trip. But what we are looking for is someone who's a lot like creative, somewhere who wants to actually solve. Yeah, we're looking for a creative mind essentially.
Other than just a creative mind, a person who's not yet been exposed to coding, what must they think about when they are thinking about Within Code? Well, what is it that must come to their mind if a child and learner, either at primary school or at high school, coding is much spoken about now, but from a job point of view, from a self-sustainability point of view, in order for you to survive out there in the job market, what must you think of when you think about coding?
Really, you must think about the critical skills that are the critical skills that are required right now. And as you said, like a lot of things are becoming digital. We're becoming a digital world. So if you're not able to keep up with that, that's where you're going to get left behind. So you need to start thinking about how do I solve the current challenges that our country is facing, that the world is facing, and how do you solve those challenges using digital methods? So that's where how students or our people need to start thinking about is how do I solve these issues, like these challenges here. So that's where coding comes in. Is like, because you can pretty much work anywhere. Like software developers are literally out there solving issues that affect us on a daily basis.
So you basically say that there's a huge market there. There's big corporates that are looking for people who are good with coding.
Yeah, definitely. There's over 40,000 jobs that go unfilled every year in South Africa just with tech and digital skills. So that's where we think what comes in is that we're trying to close that gap and fill those critical skills of software development.
You know, Charles, while we talk these technological advancements and their contribution to society, I wonder if the country is ready. I've said story. Coming here, I was on the how train. I get off and check up my phone for Uber. Then I get told that at the spot which was convenient for me, that Uber does not come there. Because at that spot, it's meter taxis. And meter taxis fight with Uber. Now I had to walk quite a distance to stand where Uber is allowed
to be able to pick you up.
And these are the issues of trust. Is the country ready for this technological advancement? Well, now there's a tussle between traditional meter taxis where you get in and pay and
I definitely feel like our country is all lead up towards the idea of digital skills and digital requirements, because to be honest, if they don't keep up with that, they really going to struggle. And I do feel like, not to say digital skills are like taking over, in the sense we can actually work quite well together to kind of meet those needs in that sense.
We will talk about whether or not digital skills are taking over, whether or not technological advancement is wiping people out of a job market. But we've got to pay our bills. Stay tuned. You're watching The Sheds. We're coming back after the break.
Welcome back from the break. In studio, we're with Kelebogile. We're talking all things coding. Kelebogile, before we went to the break, we're talking about the reality of doing traditional things. Instead, I was talking about taxis versus Ubers. Uber, which is using more tech. And are we ready as a country? Can we compete such?
No, I definitely do think that not to say that we are competing. I think that's where the misconception is coming when it comes to technology. Technology is not here to compete with us. It's actually here to help us and advance us. It's not taking over. We need to work with technology to move forward and get more jobs out there created. So it's not about, it's not a competition. It's all right. And it's actually see how can we use technology to create more jobs for them too.
I want to try and try also what kind of jobs, because I think coding towards South Africa is still foreign. There's still something up there. We're still thinking it's in America, but you say it's here in South Africa. What kind of industries that uses code?
That's the nice thing is that you can work in various different industries. So you can go within the financial sector. You can work within the telecoms, the big telecommunication companies. A lot of our students also work for a lot of software development houses. So that's where they actually get to work for different corporate companies and they actually go in and see what are the problems that the different companies are facing. And then their students are able to work on those problems and resolve them based on the company requirements. So a lot of them people with consulting. So other students are able to create their own companies, invent their own technologies and building their own apps. They're able to build websites and go into different kind of industries. So it really depends on your interest. So if you have an interest, for instance, in if you're someone who's quite creative, for example, you can go into UX design, where you actually be designing things that are like websites. And if you're someone who's more interested in back-end development, so you work more with like data management things and like APIs and working with different programs like that. So there's various different kinds of jobs that you can go into, depending on the tech language that you learn and things like that.
Because I'm passionate about government. One of the things I think should work the best in this country of ours is government. And this is because a lot of services that are offered by government have no competition. Municipal services can only get it there. Correctional services, police, anything government, SASA, that there's no competition. It's not like where you don't get proper bread and can pay, you can go to shopping. You mentioned corporate that you're working closely with. Are you also working closely, or do you think there's a need for you to work closely with government so that the skills that are produced by coding students can be used by government to automate a lot of services, so that the services that are available and provided by government can be automated? There's a lot of chewing that's happening at all government, because if you are to be serviced by government, you know that that day must be written off because you chew for their life.
Yeah, no, definitely. So that's one of the things that our students are actually able to do. So we actually train our students to be able to automate those kind of processes, and to work in the government would be quite very ideal, because there are a lot of issues there that we feel that, can get actually resolved by some of the technologies that we teach our students.
Have you approached government? Which government? What are the other responses? Okay, what are the other responses? You say, look, we think code, and we think our students can help you after they graduate, automate some of your services.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that's in process. So we are aware of, a lot of there's actually a mandate for government to try and digitize a lot of their processes. So it's something that we are able to work on.
Do they have the appetite?
Yes.
No, government can be very easy. They use the wire forms, stamps, and pens. There's a lot of
there's a lot of I don't want to say red tape, but a lot of black processes that government is deep within the process.
Before I forget, Kelebogile spoke about, I think when we started that coding, they identify a lot of problems, and I think I wanted to touch on that. What are some of the problems that we're hearing in South Africa that you make to us, and that you think with your coding, it can solve some of those problems? Whether you can give some examples.
I can give you like a example, such as maybe access to healthcare. Like a lot of people who are within the rural areas struggle to get access to, proper infrastructures like our health. Like where's the thing? If they're unable to make it, like how do I set an appointment and how do I get access to information? But I think the bigger problem is access to information. Students don't even know about anything code. Potential people that were looking into to apply for the program that don't even know ours. It's because they don't have access to information. So that's just one of the main companies. And even just schooling, access to education, which is a problem. So that's something that can actually be solved with technology.
Kelebogile, every technological advancement requires some base enabling environment to be laid out. And we're talking about rural areas, coding in the rural areas. Electricity is the biggest problem. Anything that has got to do with coding must use a device. A device does not function independently. It needs to be charged. And for services to be accessed through coding means you need electricity. Do you find that rural areas and townships in particular, informal settlements, are ready for coding? For instance, if the job market is available online through devices, applications, and things like that, do you find the environment in South Africa is ready for coding?
So unfortunately, with the issues that we're facing in the country, such as lack of electricity, it is one of our biggest threats when it comes to ensuring that we're able to provide our people access to learn how to code.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, a lot of our schools and infrastructure don't necessarily support or allow students to learn how to code.
Who to attract? People are interested in coding from rural areas, from townships, from within suburbs. And are you based on one campus or is but at the end embassy?
So we have 3 campuses. We have one in Joburg, one in Cape Town, and one in Durban. We've also recently partnered with the TVET colleges and to allow more access to our program. But we actually try to target specifically people from underserved communities that we do know that don't have necessarily the access to higher education opportunities. And also we, in order to make sure that we're getting the talent that we need and we're tapping into the talent that's, don't have that access, we actively try and source them. We actually go into these communities and actually teach them first about what exactly is coding. So a lot of them don't even know what coding is. So the first step, and when it comes to what makes We Can Code so successful, is that we first go out and actually tell them this is what coding is about. And we teach them that, it's not a male-dominant kind of a career path.
Anyone
can basically do it. As long as you have the creative mind and you have the passion and you're interested in actually solving problems, then this is for. So we don't just go out there and say this is tech is about meaning. You need maths or you need to do science, whatever. As long as you have the problem solving skills, totally well with the program. So we do actively go out into the rural areas, into townships, and we assist candidates from there.
Kelebogile, I wanted to ask you also about some of your either former students or current ones. Are there any solutions? You spoke about the apps, I think, before we went to the break. Are there some of the solutions or apps that your students or former students have come up with that are out there in the market?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the ones that come to mind is the Checker 6060.
Wow.
One of our alumni has actually worked on that project. They were part of the development team there for a time on creating that. Yeah.
You see now, that's the problem right there. Checker 6060. When you sit at home, you order food and lights, then the food comes to you. Ordinarily, there would have been personnel at the store to actually help. There would have been tellers and cleaners. So already, just with that app, you find that there has been a reduction of tellers because queues have reduced. People who go in to pay have now reduced. That is a threat to job, correct?
Is it like a threat? When it is a threat of implemented?
Not necessarily, because Checker 66 will target a certain market, right? There's still people who will, it'll still. There's still people who still need to go to shops.
Okay, cool. We'll come back to that after the break. Stay tuned. You're watching the shirts. We're taking everything coding.
Welcome back from the break. In studio, we're with Kelebogile. Kelebogile, we're talking about coding and everything that has to do with coding. I think you had a question before we went to the break.
Yes, my main concern, and I wanted to expand on that. The threat in jobs by these technological advancements, which are enabled in class by coding, because I think coding is the mother of everything that is technological in nature, because it deals with the basic and the essential. Hence, she's been saying you need to have a creative mentality. For instance, you need to think that I can order from Checkers and my food can be delivered. When in South Africa, when rules allow, such deliveries will be done by drones and not even cars and scooters. A drone will lift the pack and be driven by one person to go and deliver. Chances are there will basically be no tellers at all. Obviously, the inverse is that there's shopping that's happening around within the store by an individual who reads your list. But even that can be automated at some point, where there's some robot in class that goes pick amasi, pick ubisi, pick isonka, find the plastic in, then it gets packaged, put into a robot, and it is shipped. That is what my problem is, the threat to jobs. And what happens when we are all advanced in coding?
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Not every single person will become a software developer, become a coder. But as long as you have the minimal or like the basic skills of understanding where technology can take you and what you can do with technology, I think that's pretty much sufficient. I don't think it will wipe out.
And interesting that you said that. I'm thinking about the millennials, the young ones, because me and you are old enough.
Yes,
we still prefer to go to work physically, sign a register. The young people nowadays, they prefer to work remotely, and I think you mentioned that about coding as well. Would you say allow them to work anywhere else in the world and do working from home?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of our students are able to also work for international companies. So remote work is pretty much becoming the future. So even with remote work, in order to do your job, you don't need to be in an office, don't need to be in a physical setting to get the job done. So that's how even technology is helping in terms of creating jobs more that are online. You don't necessarily need to sit in an office with your, partner to get something done. Like there's a lot of job creation that comes from, technology.
How do you source your students? Do you go and make presentations? Do you advertise? Are you out there saying there is We Think Code as an institution, which basically won't be assigned as a tuition-free institution? Where do you go and say, here we are?
Yeah. So we go into the different townships, and then we also go to high school. So we actually go into different high school programs. We teach them about coding, and already we target like people who are in grade 10 to 12. Grade 10 to 12, to already try and introduce them into what coding actually is, and then we already start training them so that by the time they get to matric, they actually already can like apply for a program. But we go to different we put posters out there. We are on TV, we do radio, we go to radio stations and do like different marketing campaigns to tell people about it.
To do on-the-job kind of trainings, was part of what different institutions aim to do is to digitize. We saw with COVID where schools started to provide distance learning classes where there are live classes, but on Teams, on all these other platforms, where the teacher is sitting at the comfort of their home while students are in their respective. Now, this is the challenge is that when this is introduced, it's introduced to Nkosana, who's been an employee, not exposed to government as a teacher, for instance. Now they tell Nkosana, who's been sitting in front of a chalkboard and say, class, what is this? Now they say, Nkosana, you must log on and you must communicate remotely with your students. Other than teaching the students and everybody grade 10 upwards to deal with on-the-job kind of training for professionals so that they can adapt to them.
No, we're actually looking into providing short courses for people that are already employed. But something that we didn't mention is that we think is actually a peer-to-peer learning environment where our students need to come to campus every day to actually work. And the reason being is that we try to simulate a working environment. So they're actually required to come to campus every day from 8 to 5. They actually need to do like 40 hours a week. Yeah. And the reason we do this is because we're already training them for the world of work. And another thing is that there's no lecturers at We Think Code. They learn from our AWS system. So they actually
take taught by robots.
No.
You say
they're not taught by robots. They learn from each other. So they get the information from the LMS and then they need to work with their peers.
You said the information from what?
LMS, so learning management system. Okay. Yeah. So so there's no lectures. There's somebody standing in front of them telling them, okay, it's sounding write your code and things like that. They have to learn that from each other. So that's how program is actually designed.
You are saying you prepare them for the work environment. You are dealing with coding, preparing them basically or equipping them to work on their own in the comfort of their own respective spaces. Why bring them together if ultimately their output, once they qualify, will be working on their own? They'll be employed by Google in America while they sit here in their back home in South Africa.
No, a lot of them still are required to work to go into the different companies. Like not all of them are remote. Just to clarify that. I'm just saying that with coding, it does allow for more jobs to become remote, but not that them are remote. They still. So the concept, or rather the skills that we're instilling in them, is how to work with other people. So it's more around, setting up meetings and knowing that are responsible for your own learning and to take accountability for learning. But it's not to say, they want to work remote.
And how many students do you enroll each year?
It's 450 students every year.
Is that across all your campuses or only in Joburg?
Okay, so Joburg can take 200 students. So Joburg is one of our private campuses. We have 250 students. Cape Town is able to take 100 students, and then we have 100 in Durban as well. And then, as I mentioned, we've partnered with the TVET colleges, and they are able to take on 50 students.
It's great in class. I think it's we're not against coding. I'm sure I can't come up with that's against coding, but I'm not against it. It's a great in class. I guess it's inevitable that our children will have to be brought on board and they'll grow up learning these skills and apply them in their respective career paths along the way. Any last words in class? Any question? Any comment?
No, I think what I wanted to know is that do you see this as coding is growing big in the future? Creating jobs for young people in the country. Do you see that this the new jobs of the future in
Yeah.
Gauteng?
Yeah, no, definitely. As long as we have 60% unemployment rate within our unit, we definitely are able to close that gap in Gauteng. So our mandate as within code, our aim is to try and close that gap. So our aim is to try and cover it unequally.
Cool. That was Kelebogile Motlhamme from Within Code, shaping the brightest minds in the country, contributing to developmental aspects of the country, and ensuring that there's fight against joblessness. Thank you, my sister. You've been watching The Sheds, and keep watching us. Follow us. We bring this episode to you every Monday at 9 o'clock on Soto TV. Repeats on Wednesday at 11:30. Another repeat on Saturday at 5 o'clock. And then we bring the episode as well on our YouTube channel, The Shed.